Hello children and welcome to today's session. Children, there are many festivals that we celebrate in which we have a bonfire. So there is a celebration of Lodi in North India where we have a bonfire and we dance around it. Just like that, when we go out camping or we go out to very cold and chilly places, what do? We create a bonfire. When we create a bonfire, what are the two things that are happening? So there is a lot of light that is coming out of the fire because of which we can see around. Another thing that is happening is that we're getting a lot of heat, and this heat is coming out by burning of wood. So children, this burning of anything to produce heat and in turn that gives us light and warmth is known as combustion. So let us together study chapter number 6, combustion and flame. So what is combustion? Combustion is essentially an exothermic process. An exothermic process is a process that gives out heat when something is happening. So children, for combustion, there are three things which are very important. Number one, presence of a substance that is combustible. So to create a bonfire, would pick up wood. I will not pick up something like soil or something like glass, which does not catch fire. The second important thing is a substance which supports combustion. That is oxygen, air. And the third thing I need is heat. Something that can increase the temperature of my combustible item so that it catches fire. Many of the fuels that we use in our cars like LPG, CNG, petrol, diesel, etc., they are made up of a number of closely connected hydrocarbons. Now these molecules, when they are heated up, the bond between the molecules break, and when this bond between the molecules break, what happens? They release a lot of energy. And what is this energy? This energy is released in the form of heat and light. Now children, combustion can be of two types. The first type of combustion is called complete combustion. As you can see in this equation in your book, as a byproduct of complete combustion, carbon dioxide is released. Whereas incomplete combustion, which takes place when supply of oxygen is not sufficient, this releases carbon monoxide as a byproduct. We all know that carbon monoxide is very dangerous to our health, and if inhaled in a large amount, it can lead to suffocation and death of the person. So children, this was the difference between complete and incomplete combustion. Now let us understand the difference between combustible and non-combustible substances. So we just discussed that paper, kerosene, wood, petrol, CNG, LPG, all these are combustible substances because they can burn, and when they burn, they produce heat. But substances like sand, soil, cement, glass, water, etc. cannot burn. So what are they called? They are called non-combustible substances. So once again, coming to the conditions required for combustion. The first condition we know is the presence of a combustible substance. What are combustible substances? Which we have just discussed. Second is the supporter of combustion. Air is the supporter of combustion. And what exactly in air? Oxygen. The third is the ignition temperature. What is ignition temperature? Now, in order to light a paper, I will have to use a matchstick. Children, I will bring the matchstick in close contact with the paper. That is the only time the paper is going to heat up to its ignition temperature. We will understand more about it a little later in the chapter. But before that, Let us do an activity to prove that oxygen is a supporter of combustion. The same activity has been given in your book itself. We are going to understand it through a video. Light a candle and fix it on a glass plate. Place an inverted glass jar over the candle. You will observe that it stops burning after a few seconds. This happens because when the air in the inverted glass gets consumed by the flame, the candle gets extinguished. This proves that air and the continuous supply of air is necessary for burning. So children, we have proved that air and continuous supply of air is very much required for combustion to take place and to continue to take place. The next important thing that we were talking about was ignition temperature. Now, the minimum temperature at which a substance catches fire and begins to burn is known as ignition temperature. Ignition temperature of different substances is different. There are substances that are highly combustible. How will a substance become highly combustible? So, for example, when I switch on the burner and I put the lighter, it instantly lights up. When I bring a matchstick near a piece of paper, it instantly lights up. What are these things? These things are highly combustible. Whereas, if I bring a matchstick near a piece of wood, it is going to take a very long time to burn up. So, that thing is not very highly combustible. I will have to heat the wood much more than I will have to heat a piece of paper in order for it to burn. So, what is this called? This is called ignition temperature. We can conduct a very simple experiment that is given in your book as well to understand how ignition temperature of different things vary and how, because of this ignition temperature, things burn at different temperatures. Let us watch this video and understand this activity. For any substance to burn, it must attain its ignition temperature. Ignition temperature is the lowest temperature at which it starts burning. Take some water in a paper cup and place it over a lighted gas stove. You will observe that the water in the paper cup starts boiling, but the cup does not burn. This happens because the heat supplied to the paper cup is transferred to the water by conduction and does not allow the paper cup to reach its ignition temperature. Hence, it does not burn. Next, throw the water from the paper cup and place the paper cup over the flame. It catches fire immediately. So, this was an activity also given in your book where we understand how different things burn at different temperature. Now, because of this reason, because the ignition temperature is different for different things, the types of combustion become different. How? Let us discuss them in detail. The first kind of combustion is spontaneous combustion. Spontaneous combustion means that immediately when the substance comes in contact with oxygen, it begins to burn. If you remember the chapter of metals done in your previous classes, we told you that sodium is kept inside water at room temperature because the moment you will take it out, it will catch fire. Similarly, a ribbon of phosphorus also catches fire as soon as it comes in contact with air. The second is rapid combustion. Rapid combustion means the moment a substance is ignited, as was the example of the gas stove. I switched on the gas burner, I clicked the lighter next to it. What happened? It caught fire. So, this is rapid combustion which takes place in case of LPG, petrol, paper, kerosene, etc. The third type is slow combustion. What is slow combustion? Slow combustion means the combustion that is taking place very slowly. So, for example, we know that the food inside our body also burns to give energy. But you can not feel that burning. It is so slow. Similarly, rusting of iron is another process that takes place very slowly. You don't see the piece of iron burning, but what you actually see is that there is rust coming over that piece of iron, and over many years you will see the iron being eaten up. Children, we've learned about ignition temperature. We've learned that ignition temperature burns a substance. When a substance burns, it produces fire. And from this fire, we obtain heat, light as a form of energy. What if this fire goes out of control? How are you going to control this fire? Is what we are going to learn in the next section of this chapter. Let's watch a video and understand more. Fire can be caused by petrol, electricity, etc. In case a fire breaks out due to a combustible substance like wood or paper, it can be put off by throwing water on it. Water cools the combustible substance below its ignition point. Also, when the water is heated by the fire, it forms water vapor which surrounds the combustible material, helping in cutting off the supply of air and extinguishing the fire. Water should not be used to put off a fire caused by electricity. This is because water is a good conductor of electricity. It can give an electric shock to the person putting off the fire. Use sand or a fire extinguisher to put off such a fire. Do not put off a fire caused due to oil with water because oil is lighter than water and will float on it. The fire will spread. Use a fire extinguisher to put off such a fire. Carbon dioxide is the best fire extinguisher for fires caused by electricity or oil. It is filled in fire extinguishers. Carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen and surrounds the burning substance, cutting off the contact between the combustible substance and oxygen, and thus extinguishing the fire. If a person's clothes catch fire, cover him with a blanket to cut off the air supply immediately. You can also put water over the body of the victim. This will cool down the ignition temperature and extinguish the fire. Water also prevents formation of blisters. So children, this is where the role of fire extinguishers become very important. Also, you must have seen that most of the buildings around your house, be it your school, movie halls, malls, etc., they all have fire extinguishers installed there. One thing common to all fires is a flame. Everything that burns with a flame. Children, flame is also of two types. We learned about complete combustion and incomplete combustion. So, in case there is complete combustion, when a substance burns in sufficient supply of air, a complete combustion takes place and there is a non-luminous flame. But in case there is incomplete supply of oxygen and incomplete combustion, then we see a yellow color flame. This is because of the unburnt carbon particles in it. And if you look at the flame of a candle very carefully, you will see that there are many zones in it. So there is a non-luminous zone, as we can see here. The non-luminous zone is the outermost zone, and then comes the luminous zone, which is yellow in color, a dark zone which is black in color, which is not so clearly visible until you actually put your eyes to it. Then there is a blue zone in the center, which is the least hot zone. The luminous zone is moderately hot. What is the hottest zone? It is the outside non-luminous zone. So these are the various zones of a flame. Now children, anything that burns produces carbon dioxide, and if there is incomplete combustion, then there is production of carbon monoxide. Both carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide are very, very harmful. So what are the harmful effects of burning? Firstly, there are suspended particulate matter which are known as SPM. In case of burning of fossil fuel, the unburnt carbon particles are released in a larger amount and these remain suspended in the air. So what is happening during the winter months when there is fog because of cold weather, these particles combine with it and they form smog, which hampers visibility. The second thing is carbon dioxide. which is released extensively in burning of fuels is a greenhouse gas. What does it do? It heats up the earth, leading to global warming. And we all know that carbon monoxide is a very poisonous gas. An excessive intake of carbon monoxide gas can lead to poisoning and death of a person. So children, for this reason, it is very, very important to stop depending on fossil fuels, because of which these gases are released in the environment, and return to alternative sources of energy like solar energy, wind energy, geothermal energy, and fuels like hydrogen, fuels like CNG, which give out much less suspended matter when they are burnt. So in this chapter on combustion and flame, you have learnt about combustion. You have learnt about how different kinds of combustion takes place. How do you do if a fire goes out of control? And you've learnt the different zones of a flame. Time for you to get back to the exercises now. Thank you.